And we are live. Hello, 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 everyone. I am so excited for today's broadcast. I have a treat for you. I have someone who's very special to me, Mr. Benjamin. He's my former boss. And I know a lot of people, when you leave a job, you leave a boss and you don't want to stay in touch, but not so with Mr. Benjamin. He was one of the best principals that I have ever worked under in my entire life. And if you watch my earlier broadcast, you'll see Miss Allison, who's in Brazil. She worked under Mr. Benjamin. She has wonderful things to say about him. We had a couple of weeks ago, Mr. Rulak, who is now a real estate agent and former principal. He worked under Mr. Benjamin. He is fabulous. So welcome, Mr. Benjamin.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So, Mr. Benjamin, we're going to dive right in. But before we do, I normally read the bio. So I'm going to read your bio. And folks, I need you to get your pencil and paper out. Okay? So Anthony Benjamin began his educational career as a AmeriCorps Fellow and inaugural cohort member of the EPICS, which is the Educational Partners in Catholic Schools program at Seton Hall. The EPICS program, inspired and modeled from the University of Notre Dame, ACE, which is the Alliance for Catholic Education, is a 2-year graduate teaching fellowship and formation experience in which participants serve in under-resourced Catholic schools throughout New Jersey while also earning a master's. He taught social studies, health education, and was the activities coordinator for 2 years at Blessed Sacrament in Paterson, New Jersey. While teaching several more years at the elementary, middle, and high school level in various districts throughout New Jersey, Mr. Benjamin will also serve with distinction as a middle school gifted and talented coordinator and district supervisor of special programs. Now, you're listening to this resume. He has a lot going on, okay? Special programs, related services, and grants prior to being tapped to serve as a middle school assistant principal and summer school principal in the Montclair Public Schools. Now, Mr. Benjamin was recruited by the former School District of Philadelphia Superintendent, Dr. Ackerman, to serve as principal to support the transformation of John Barry Elementary School in West Philadelphia. And that's where I met him and served as one of his 3 assistant principals. From there, Mr. Benjamin has served as principal in various urban and suburban school districts throughout New Jersey that include Rockaway Township, Trenton, New Jersey, Highland Park, and Somerville. He now serves as a principal coach in the Camden City School District and was recently appointed to serve as an adjunct professor at Montclair State University, teaching a course on curriculum, instruction, and assessment. Mr. Benjamin has been working tirelessly for 24 years. He doesn't even look 24, does he? But he is in education. 15 of those years as a school administrator, advocating for students, teachers, and families in diverse communities as to ensure children's educational experiences are safe, nurturing, inclusive, fun, and rigorous. That word. As education from Seton Hall University. He completed his second master's from Columbia University in educational leadership, where he was also accepted into the curriculum and teaching doctoral program. Okay. He's a hitter. To return to New Jersey and transfer from Columbia to enroll in the executive doctoral program at Seton Hall University. Mr. Benjamin has an additional certification from Johns Hopkins University. He has co-written and published articles on education and received many awards over the years for his efforts at transforming schools and learning environments and ensuring student achievement. Now, that's a mouthful for a man who knows education through and through. And he doesn't wear it on his shoulder. He doesn't brag about it. He's very humble. But when you sit down and have a discussion with him, be ready. As a matter of fact, you may have to have a thesaurus. He doesn't mean to, but he has an extensive vocabulary. So when you use just ordinary words, that might not do with him. You may need to carry a thesaurus. And I always tell my early learners, Mr. Benjamin, that they need 3 books, and at least 3 of these books in their home. So as a principal, and you know, my program, one of the things I'm doing, Mr. Benjamin, one is exposing to the public Black men who are making a positive impact in their community, only because there are so many stereotypes out there that Black men aren't doing their job. Black men ain't, you heard, and you fill in the blanks. And so that is not true in my experience. And so what I and have how to these kids, let me ask you,
So Nancy, you broke up a little bit. Can you repeat the part of that one?
It goes in and out, and that's something I can't control. Can you hear me now, Mr. Benjamin?
I can hear you now.
Okay. My question is, as a principal, how do you promote the growth of learning in our small, young, early learners? How do you do that in the school?
Well, principals essentially create a positive and nurturing school environment that promotes learning and growth and well-being amongst early learners. And this can include establishing clear expectations, fostering a sense of community, and providing emotional support, among many things.
So, working, why do you job? You take care of kids with the parents, curriculum, to ensure that, I guess you have to work very closely with the teachers to make sure that the curriculum is working. What do you do to ensure that that's working for these children?
Well, the principals play a very crucial role in shaping the school's curriculum to meet the needs of early learners by ensuring that the curriculum is developmentally appropriate, engaging, and aligned with educational standards. The principals can enhance learning experiences for all the students.
But Mr. Benjamin, my question, this is a question that I get from a lot of people. Depending on where you are and what, a lot of teachers and a lot of schools don't necessarily have high expectations for children who may go to school in an area that may not be considered, a high socioeconomic class,
Mhm.
right? And so they kind of dummy down the curriculum, or they don't have high expectations at all.
Mhm.
What can we do? Because if you do that, then what you're doing is you are not allowing these early learners to really grow and flourish in their natural giftedness, right? So how do you help to maybe transform that mindset? Because I know in West Philadelphia, for example, where we were, many people didn't think that anything good grew out of that neighborhood,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know? So how do you change the mindset, like of the teachers, even of the parents, the community? What do you do? Because that will impact the growth of our early learners.
I think many of the things that we talked about and we discussed as a leadership team was making sure that our leadership skills, our strong leadership skills, were being exposed and on display each and every day. And I
Hmm.
think this inspires both teachers and students and the parents by
Hmm.
setting these high expectations for everyone. The academic
Hmm.
achievement behavior. Everybody is motivated to excel. And I have to go back. I'm gonna double back and say one of the big things that was crucial for our success is that we had a really phenomenal team with
Hmm.
you, Tina, and Ed. With your leadership and with your cooperation and collaboration, we did some amazing things. Our scores went up. Our
Right.
behaviors went down. Our fights went down significantly. Our suspensions were high in the beginning, but
Right.
then they were near nil towards the end. We had very little suspensions towards the end, so much to where one of the captains from the local precinct came and actually said, "Wow, what's going on over here?" We did a
Right.
lot of things, and I think it was really about the high expectations and the strong leadership skills that you all had.
Right.
Clearly, having the experience that all both you, Delsina, and Ed had, you walked in there and you gave me considerable insight. You gave me guidance to help me say, okay, so here's how we should move forward. And I can't say I've ever had an experience ever like that really enabled me to, really effectuate our vision for the school. So that was great. And it helped out our early learners
Right.
tremendously because they were able
Right.
to see, you
Right.
know,
Because Mr. Benjamin, I would say that I learned a lot from you too, because one thing I noticed that, we're working in a school that's a K-8 school, and that's a difficult range to it's like you have to do kinder. And for me, that was never, ever my experience. I've always been a middle school person.
mhm.
So you're now dealing with these little teeny ones in kindergarten all the way to 8th grade. But as a parent, I'm gonna answer as a parent now. Like if I'm looking around and trying to find how is this school going to help my child? A lot of parents, they have no options but to go to the neighborhood school, right? They have no options. They don't even realize how to even look up a school, maybe on the computer, to see what the report card is like. Like, can you give me some strategies that could help a parent figure out where this school is compared to the schools in the area, in the city, and the state? No, 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 like, to say, no, go to school, they have grant. Well, no, because you want to compare certain things like the report card scores. Are the kids proficient and advanced in reading and math? And so as a parent, what other things should we be looking for? Like I'm a parent of a young kid who's leaving daycare, going to the neighborhood school. How do I gauge if this is really a good school?
I think more so. So that's a two-parter. I
Okay.
think probably the most important thing from a school's position or administration position is both communication and outreach, and
Okay.
it has to be significant on a scale that almost where parents feel overwhelmed with the level of communication and outreach, so that it really helps for them to make decisions as to
Okay.
what not this is an appropriate school environment. And I think in general, principals can foster that strong partnership with parents and caregivers to support the early learners in personal development, involve the parents in school activities, decision-making processes, create collaborative and a supportive community, school community. I think those are very essential, in terms of parents being able to really make that decision, again, providing significant information on, giving a full compass view of what it is we do at this particular school, what makes us unique, the different programs and the curriculum and how it's going to help and grow their child.
Yes.
Really helps out significantly so that they can make a better decision.
Yes. And so I'm glad you said that, parents, I think, could take a more active role. Sometimes they just don't know what to do. It's not that they don't care, and it's not that they're not involved. Some of them just don't know what to do. And so, like you said, I think the connection between the school and the community, building and fostering that relationship, would make like build the relationship.
Mm.
For most parents, I probably had one step above, but I still was functioning as a parent, trying to figure out what was, is this the best school? Who are the teachers? What's the curriculum like? And it's a lot to take in. So I guess the key would be for parents, like you said, to form this relationship or just get involved some kind of way with the school and not necessarily wait until school starts. Because in my opinion, the ideal opportunity would be if you're in a daycare that's in the proximity of the school, your neighborhood school, then make a visit, right? Call the principal. Like, you were always approachable. Parents could always call the school. Mr. Benjamin would answer the phone. He would always have someone in the office with him, which is very smart, to address the needs of these parents. And so being approachable is one, because there's some principals that are always so busy, but be available so that the parents can meet with you, or set up meetings, establish some meeting times. When you say, okay, I'm gonna have a community meeting or meet with all the incoming kindergartners, you did that too. You met with other school principals from, daycare centers or from the neighborhood church, remember? And so you would always have like an open door policy, come and talk to me. If there's a problem, let's talk. So parents, they should not ever feel alone. And if anything, call the neighboring school so you can get a tour, right? Get a tour, get a conversation, talk to other parents. Just don't go in blind, have an idea as to what you think your child needs and put them in the right place. So I think that's important. Another question I have for you, Mr. Benjamin, a lot of, I believe, everybody's gifted, because I noticed on your resume, you have worked with gifted and talented programs.
I did.
And I believe that every child is gifted, because that's what the Bible says, that every child is uniquely and wonderfully made. It's just that we have to figure out what that gift is, right? So what kind of programs do you think schools should just have in place to identify giftedness in children? And I'm not talking about the regular gifted program where, I'm talking about every child being identified as gifted. What kind of out of the box thinking would you consider to be a good structure to have in place so that every kid can excel in the natural
I think you broke up.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
I know it took me out, and I'm sorry, folks, but thank you for hanging in there with me, those who are watching. So my question is,
Oh, it was gifted and talented question.
yes.
Okay. I think from the outset, making each grade level, working collaboratively with the teachers and district supervisors in terms of the curriculum to design grade level appropriate enrichment for all of our students that help to identify their strengths
Right.
and really work to identify or carve out, times throughout the day and or the week to integrate, lessons that will help to, really strengthen our students' gifts and talents. And,
Okay.
it's significant in that it could model a lot of the programs that are designed by Renzulli up in Connecticut, or all the other different you can take models from Johns Hopkins, or Renzulli from Connecticut, and just really be able to integrate and design school-wide enrichment for all children at all grade levels that will help support them tapping into their strengths and their challenges and their gifts.
Good. And so about me, take a minute to think about it. And everybody, in my opinion, does something well. And that's the thing that you do that you don't even think about doing. The do it, and when you do it, because it's proper gift, right? And I always say that the gift is the thing that you can do without getting paid. It's the thing that you do, and you don't, it's hard work, but it's not hard for you to do, right? And I think if we started with early learners, helping them understand who they are as they're little, don't even wait until they get in the 6th grade, like 5, 4, let them start exploring who they are and created to be. I think that's a game changer for education, because now you have to create curriculum that supports who the child is, right?
Absolutely.
Go ahead. Good. You want to say something?
No, I agree with you totally.
Yeah, because even Mr. Benjamin, I remember we would always laugh. We said, Mr. Benjamin coming in there with another activity. You had all of these ideas that I don't think the community was ready for. And that's what I'm talking about. You always, in my opinion, you had an out of the box kind of thinking. Your head was always in like creation mode. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. So how do you incorporate someone like you? Like, not I don't know. This today is only because I'm so excited. It keeps going in and out. But did you hear? Huh?
I'm here. You broke out a lot on that last one.
And what happened was the platform just went off and it says, try again.
No worries. I'm here with you. This is,
Okay,
I'm
thank you.
loving this. I'm
So,
loving this experience, and I'm really, yeah.
so did you hear my last question?
No.
Okay, so I was saying, when we talk about changing the mindset of people, so for me, I think in order to change the culture of a school, let's say, that just does just the basics, right? The basics to me doesn't work today, because you have some gifted and talented young people coming into these schools in kindergarten. I work in this program with my sorority, and this is one little girl who's 6 years old. And when I tell you, I can spot them, I can spot gifted. She's she's wise. And her room allow this to express verbal, and so her to go just and not help her to grow. So how do we, you, the school, the teachers, how do we change that culture so that when these kindergartners I went out again, right?
No worries. So I think you're very great. That's a great question. I think number one, it's very important that we engage in significant review of the data. We got a data mine and like none other, and really look at the data, because the data doesn't lie, and let the data help paint the picture so as to really help get buy-in. That's one way that we're going to get buy-in. I think another way for us to get buy-in in terms of us, having that paradigm shift is really presentation and solicitation of ideas. I have my ideas as to what I think might actually work for school, but I think it's also important that I solicit ideas from the assistant principals, the teachers, the parents, even the students, as to how we best solve or address, our challenges. And I think that the data coupled with the solicitation and presentation of ideas, that helps us to really make that shift. And then it takes strong leadership to really enact that. So it's going to be myself, the vice principals, and the teacher leaders to really help to make sure that we allow our vision to come to fruition. And that's how you're going to do it. It doesn't happen overnight, but slow and steady really does win the race.
Right. Now, let me ask you, okay, so how would a parent, because I know data is something that you have to learn to understand and read and compare. What would be like an easy strategy to help parents just kind of understand a little bit of what the data means? Like,
breaking down the data, really giving a sort of parent-friendly understanding of what this data means. How does this information translate into daily practices, both for teachers at school as well as for parents, and what we need, how we can sort of solicit them to engage in their responsibilities at home, not just being mom or dad, but really being able to be, because remember, as you know, particularly with early learners, parents are the child's first educator or the first teacher. So it's really important that we sort of provide them some significant guidance on, hey, if you're seeing these types of behaviors, both behavioral and or cognitive, that here's how you might want to address it. Developing an FAQ, a frequently asked questions, or sending home monthly, how-tos, so as to help parents address that. We can't assume that, everyone, has this background knowledge in terms of pedagogy, but really being able to provide them some, some bits of knowledge to help them along their way.
And I'm glad you said that. Frequently asked questions. I like that, because parents may need to have like a cheat sheet And so when they go into these buildings and ask questions, frequently asked questions, they can prioritize what's important.
Mhm.
Because I honestly heard a teacher say to me that, well, this school is a good school. They have this program and that program and this program's going on. But then I said to the teacher, it's not a good school. I looked up the report card. I
Mhm.
went online, I looked the school up, and I compared the school's scores to the other schools in the area, and all of them are below basic in both reading and math. How is that a good school? And she says, well, nobody's paying attention to data. I was appalled. They
Mhm.
are paying attention to data. What do you mean they're not paying attention to data? How do you call that a good school when half of the school can't read
Mhm.
and half of the school can't do mathematics?
Mhm.
And you're comparing the school to all the other schools in your state.
Mhm.
How is that a good school? And that's what I'm saying. We get confused in our neighborhood schools. This is a good school because everybody's wearing a uniform. That's important. It's a good school because the kids are orderly and quiet in the classroom. Well, that's important. But I often go into quiet classrooms and not a thing's going on. They're just quiet. They're just quiet. And like you
Absolutely.
would use the word rigorous, rigorous instruction means that there is some conversation going on,
Mhm.
that the kids are taking over the lesson and the teachers doing more facilitating than anything, right? So parents don't know what to look for. So if you walk in and everybody's got their hands folded and quiet, that might mean that nothing's going on, as opposed to what we tend to believe, oh, it's a nice quiet class. So that's what I'm saying. We got to teach our parents the things to look for and create a list of frequently asked questions, because okay, everybody's wearing a uniform, everybody's quiet in the hallways, and all that's good, as we know, Mr. Benjamin. But if they score below basic in reading and math half the school, is that a good school?
It isn't, and one of the things that Arlene Ackerman was very steadfast in saying over and over and over was parents are our partners, and and there's victory in the classroom. But
Mhm.
I want to continue to add on to that. We our schools can nor will ever be successful if we don't get the complete buy-in, cooperation, support, and advocacy from our parents. Our schools can be held accountable by our parents. Those
Right.
scores, those low scores that you talked about, they're allowed to be that way because in large part because we don't have the advocacy and or support that's needed from our parents to begin to hold school administrators and teachers accountable for ensuring that there's quality instruction that's happening in the classroom each and every day. So we need our parents and our community. And again, our schools need to support our parents and be able to say, hey, here's what to look for in terms of what's considered quality instruction. Mom and dad, make sure you're asking your child questions when they come home. What types of questions did your teacher ask you today? What did they engage you in? Because you were spot on in that the vast majority of the time we constitute a school as being good because there are no, the fights are down, or the kids are behaving appropriately. But that's just one part of the equation. The other part is the academic piece, because we have to prepare our communities and our in our society for the rigors that are associated with the global economy and so forth. So it's really essential that our parents are really on top of this.
And I'm glad you said that, because I hate to compare, but I know with Allison being over in Brazil, those
Mhm.
children they're not even smarter than our children. They're nice kids, but the parental support
Mhm.
is what
Mhm.
drives that
Mhm.
program. Those parents are up there all the time asking those frequently asked questions. They're comparing scores. They're very competitive. And Mr. Benjamin, these children, like Alice, she would always say to me, she said, they're bright, but they're no brighter than the children here. There's just a difference in education being a priority.
Mhm.
It is a priority. And she was saying that she doesn't have behavior problems and all of that, but these children are competitive and they want to come and they want to learn. And guess what? Once they learn, they come over here to the United States and they come over here and get the scholarships and they go to the top schools and then take it back home, because they're taking education seriously. And I think, I'm not saying that parents aren't. I know that parents are bombarded with all kinds of things, but we still have to take the time to figure out what's going on. And I'm guilty of that. Even as a administrator, assistant principal, I had kids in school. But there were times when they would go lacking because I'm so busy working at the school that I was like, I hope Candace did her homework tonight. that's not effective. And I'm being honest, you know. There were times I'm like, oh, my child made it through, thank God, but I'm so busy working. So we have to have balance. We
Uh-huh.
have to have a balance. We have to have a plan, like you said, and we got to be intentional about this learning for our children. We really do, you know. So thank you, Mr. Benjamin. I appreciate that. So, Mr. Benjamin, do you have any closing remarks? I really, like I said to any, we often said, why don't you open up your own school? And you never did. What happened with that, Mr. Benjamin? Because then I wouldn't have had to retire. But had you opened your school, I'd still be working today.
You know, it's still a thought. It's still,
Okay.
you know, that's something I definitely would, you know, it's definitely still a thought.
Mhm.
I'm enjoying the opportunity to help districts transform.
Mhm.
Um, Helping districts transform their district
Okay.
one school at a time. And I think,
Okay.
you know, I think I can be of service in both capacities.
Mhm.
You know, I'm still learning the ropes of how to design, you know, my own school and things like that. So that's still out there. It's
Okay.
definitely something that you know, that isn't off the table.
Mhm.
In the meantime, I think what I'll do is I'm working to uh, you know, see how I can support school districts really transforming their schools, because as you know, Barry scores did go up.
Yes, they did.
They did
Yes,
go
they
up.
did.
The attendance went up. The student
Yes.
achievement went up.
Right.
Our behavioral issues went down significantly.
Significantly.
It was, you know, it was wow. We did with and this is not just me saying this to you. Without the help of you, Delcina, and Ed, we couldn't have done this. And Allison, my apologies.
Yes.
Allison was phenomenal.
Right.
Without the help of you guys, we
Mhm.
couldn't have done what we did. And you know, we had some struggles, especially in the beginning of the year, when we had to you know, we had to engage in some Joe Clark activities at the school
Yeah.
to begin to set the tone and
Yes.
let them know this is the new standard, this is the new expectation, and
Right.
you know, none of this will be tolerated. And so
Right.
we did that from the outset,
Right.
and you know, it was
And,
tremendous. And
and they should have given us more time, because you need more than a year.
you
And
know,
Allison, it's funny that you said that, because I don't know if she's watching, because I told her you were going to be on. She's like, oh, Mr. Benjamin. And so she would say all the time, she said, Nancy, they shouldn't have broke up the band,
they
because we
should.
were trying to get it done. We really were. And they didn't give us enough time. And that's on them. They lost out. They lost out because you were trying to change the mindset. And it was happening though,
It was.
slowly changing, because that was the community that was stuck.
Yeah.
Stuck. You know how like tires get stuck in the mud? They're kind of stuck in the mud, and you were kind of moving them along. Let's gently move this. They can do this. And remember, the boys were changing around, and behavior was changing. Things were different, you know, but
Absolutely.
I don't know. And had they done that, I think, you know, again, I would have still been
Well,
working.
you know, Nancy, that's something that persists even still to this day. You know,
Yes.
you get in there, you're starting to make changes. You know, one or two individuals throughout the community either doesn't like it or agrees with it or understands it, and then they make, you know, a kerfuffle,
Yeah.
And whomever's listening makes a decision to, you know,
Yeah.
not necessarily investigate, and
Right.
again, in using your term, break up the band.
Yeah.
The results were the results. We had
Right.
the results. We
Right.
still have the results.
Right.
So that was unfortunate. But again,
Right.
you know, it didn't stop any of us from being able to use our gifts and talents to go off and, you know, make changes and transform other places.
Right.
So we were
Right.
fortunate to be, you know, we were really fortunate to be together and to grow with each other and learn each other.
Right.
And we, you know, the kids and the families are forever grateful for that. And I think
Forever. And I could name a few families right now. They would get on here and say, absolutely, you
Yeah.
know, and from it, we have, I still think we're still connected. Anytime I call you, you're available. I called Mr. Rulak. I haven't talked to Delcina, but I really need to get in touch with her, because we all need to get together, because Allison said all of us need to come to Brazil. and visit her. So, Mr. Benjamin, thank you for all of your input and your expertise. Do you have any last words? First of all, I forgot to mention that you are a father with a beautiful wife of 2 early learners, right?
I am.
How,
I am.
how does that work for you? Now let me ask you this. Is it hard to shift that gear? It was for me to be a mom and then a principal. It was like, you know.
It's incredibly difficult because what's interesting is, I have a daughter who has special needs, and I have a son who is gifted. And
Oh,
so
okay.
that's what makes it very unique. And you
Okay.
brought up an excellent point about, when you're an administrator and you're on the go and you're changing everyone else's lives and you're impacting everyone else's life,
Right.
or life, and you unfortunately at times can become somewhat neglectful of your own family.
Right.
You got to keep
Right.
that balance, keep that perspective, and keep that balance to make sure that I love everyone else's kid, but I got to make sure that I go back
Right.
and pour into my own kids as well.
Right.
And
Right.
you could easily sort of kind of
Yeah. So just make sure you balance that, because I learned I could do a whole workshop on that, how difficult it is to balance both of them. Because you want to because Mr. Benjamin, we would leave that school at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. What are you
Yeah,
doing at school at 10 o'clock?
it was
If
tough.
somebody didn't come pick up their kid, you got to wait for the police to come, and then you got to wait for DHS. And see,
Yeah.
folks don't see when they start talking about how principals and they don't do anything. They better ask you 10 o'clock, and then turn around and be back there at 7.
Yeah.
And so you've missed dinner, you've missed homework. Part of
Yeah.
the job, though, so people don't really understand your job for real. They need to walk in your shoes and see. But thank you, and we will stay in touch. I
Absolutely.
appreciate you, and I'm so sorry about this in and out, but I think it'll be okay.
No problem.
All right, tell your wife and tell your kids that I said hello. All right,
Bless
God
it. Thank
bless.
you.
Bye bye.